Hi, Allegra here from Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. Welcome to my Thursday podcast slash videocast. If you're watching live, awesome. Feel free to chat. I will see the comments. And if you are listening to the recording, well, welcome to the Harness the Power Planning podcast. And today's topic is holistic skincare. I am 51, and inevitably, when people find out my age, they ask me, "Oh, what kind of skincare do you use?" Which I guess inevitable maybe isn't the right term, but people seem to think that my skin looks really good. And I decided today to be I'm completely makeup free. I didn't change today after doing my exercise this morning. So I wanted to be as au natural as possible. And so today I'm going to talk about my holistic skincare routine, which is, as you can probably imagine, much more than skincare. There is stress management, movement, diet, sleep, and oh yeah, skincare. It is part of it. So hopefully I can cover it all in 30 minutes because it's a lot. I once did my morning skincare routine live on camera. You can find that in an earlier podcast. If you can't find the video on your podcast providers, you might have to go to YouTube. It's definitely there. And I think it took 45 minutes because I was talking so much. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about that. And before, as always, I like to pull a card from my little card of sayings. There's always some great inspiration here. And let's see what number one is. It may be unfair, but what happens in a few days, sometimes even a single day, can change the course of a whole lifetime. Khalid Hosseini. I'm not sure. I've never heard of Khalid Hosseini. It may be unfair, but what happens in a few days, sometimes even a single day, can change the course of a whole lifetime. Yes. I mean, I think we all know that's true for some very dramatic examples. Like, for some reason, what came to mind was that guy who was pinned by a boulder while hiking, and he had to, or he didn't have to, he chose to saw his arm off. And yeah, that changed the trajectory of his life. Actually, that makes me think of another person who lost their arm, Bethany Hamilton, the surfer, when she was attacked by a shark. I think she was like 13 or something. She was very young. Shark chomped off her arm. Obviously, potentially a life-changing experience. Although in some ways it didn't change her life because she just kept on surfing, but obviously a very different trajectory in terms of her being able to speak about what she overcame. That's amazing. I don't know that anything that dramatic has ever happened to me, although I did once. I guess this is one example. I had this amazing opportunity to work on this project, a video project about, uh, it was about Vox was the term that they used for it. It was like VO, it was had to do with, what is the for a long time, we were very concerned about the ozone layer, and so it has to do with the ozone that is created by cars and volatile compounds, and I was going to be one of the hosts. I was very excited about it, and I had quit my current job and taken a few days for myself before I was supposed to start this project, and then literally the day before I was supposed to show up to start this project, the producer called and said the funding was pulled. We have to cancel the project. And what ended up changing my life in terms of that event was that, okay, so I need another job. And I applied for a job that I got, and that's where I met my husband. So that single event is what pushed me towards meeting him. Who knows if we would have met if that hadn't happened. So there you go. Okay. Holistic skincare. So as I mentioned, I'm completely makeup free, and I guess I have good skin for a 51-year-old. It's hard to judge yourself. But when I look in the mirror, I see the same things that I'm sure other people see. My skin is, not as resilient as it used to be, fine lines. I have some 11s. The one thing I do have happening right now is some light on me. So there, you can see my 11s better with the shadows. I do have some, hormonal melasma. So, my skin is good. Is it perfect? No, far from perfect. However, this is completely unfiltered, and not just unfiltered, but I've never had any quote unquote work done. Now, in terms of skincare, have I engaged in some skincare that maybe other people have not done for whatever reason? Yes, because I've done needling and I have done a lot. Needling is basically just a really aggressive facial with needles that is supposed to help stimulate your skin's repair response. I haven't done needling often, and I haven't done needling in, I wanna say, 2 years now. So it's not like that's my answer, but I'm just letting you know in full disclosure, yes, I have done needling. I do use a red light mask frequently. So those are maybe the 2 things that I've done that are kind of outside what most people have done, but they're doable. Although, like I said, I haven't really done the needling. Definitely the red light is what I've done more of, and it's very doable, budget wise. They're pretty affordable. So, um, but before I get into that, I want to talk about the more holistic side of it. So, number one, and really kind of the number one thing I think for all kinds of sleep, for all kinds of health related issues, is sleep. I once heard a doctor say, if I could improve Americans' health the most with a single swipe, it would be get more sleep. And our sleep is so interrupted by digital devices, by just the whatever desire it is that we have to stay up late because we might be missing something, by eating too late, by not regulating our stress, and therefore we have trouble sleeping. So you can start to see how these topics, the things that I say that help maintain my skincare, you can see how they work together. But I would say sleep is number 1 because your body is repairing itself when you sleep. So if you're not sleeping enough, your body's not getting to repair itself, bottom line. And so I want my body to do all of its self repair that it can possibly do. So I really prioritize sleep. Definitely, I work to go to bed before 10:30. Sometimes I'm even in bed as early as 9:30. And I like when I go to bed early, I wake up feeling so much more optimistic. Literally, I just feel more joyful. Now, maybe that's because that's my chronotype, which if you haven't heard about chronotypes, the hypothesis behind them is that back when we were all hunter-gatherers, someone had to stay up at night to protect the village, and so we all evolved to sleep in slightly different patterns. Now, the majority of us sleep we wake with the sun, and we get tired when the sun goes down. Of course, artificial light has kind of impacted that, so, um but there are some of us who do stay up later and maybe even suffer from insomnia because they were kinda the overnight guard. I'm sorry. So, find out what your chronotype is and work with that. But for me, personally, I'm definitely someone who wakes up with energy and then gets tired as the day goes on. I have never really been a night person. Uh, when I do comedy shows, which for those of you who know that I do stand-up comedy, I ask to be on the 7 or 7:30 show because the 9:30 show is just too late for me. So, sleep is so important. Find out what your chronotype is. The other thing I've heard is that sleep now again, I don't know how this is affected by chronotypes, but I have read that your body does different things at different points in the night. So, for instance, let's just talk about the brain. Apparently, before midnight, your brain is focused on cleaning and repairing the brain, and after midnight, it's more focused on recording memories and things like that. And so if you're not getting enough sleep before midnight, you might not be getting the benefit of the repair and cleaning, and therefore the recording is not going to be as effective because the cleaning didn't happen first. So that's why I really try to prioritize getting to bed well before midnight so my brain can take advantage of all of those, cleaning options. So that's sleep. Stress management. Stress, when you're stressed, you release a chemical called cortisol, and cortisol just wreaks havoc with your body on the cellular level. It also causes you to store fat because what is the number one thing that concerned humans when we were evolving? Am I going to have enough food? Am I going to starve? And so, because our body equates stress with, oh, I'm concerned about food, therefore your body wants to store fat. So, I do think that managing stress is so important for the appearance of your skin, but I also think how you manage stress shows up on your face in terms of the expressions you make. And the expressions you make lead to the wrinkles you create, right? Like if you're constantly frowning, that's how you get a lot of wrinkles up here. I think I don't have a lot of wrinkles up here because I'm not a frowny person. If anything, I'd be getting the laugh lines because I am a very laughy person. So, stress management, and by the way, an interesting thing I heard is that when you start developing wrinkles up here, you're just strengthening those muscles. And they've actually done studies to show. Now, I'm not a proponent, I'm not a fan of, using any sort of chemicals in your body because I feel like we're exposed to so many chemicals. I don't want to add chemicals. But one study showed that when people got Botox, they actually found that they had again, who knows if it's correlation or causation, but a more sunny outlook on life because they weren't making those expressions. In the brain science world, there's an expression, what fires together, wires together. And so if your body is used to have it frowning when you don't feel good, then those two things get wired together, the muscular expression and the physical and emotional sensation. And so what the Botox experiment showed was that by disconnecting those two, or by turning off one of them, it actually was turning off the other one too. So I thought that was really interesting. So stress management. I do a lot of different things for stress management. I walk a lot every day. At least I do try to get 10,000 steps because I live in a city that isn't super walkable. Like when I was in New York recently, I was walking 15,000 steps every day, and that was just to get places. I wasn't sightseeing. I was just trying to get around. I'll be talking about diet soon, which is why I pull out my giant green and brown drink here. Mm, so I do prioritize walking. I do absolutely notice a difference in how my skin looks based on how much I sweat. And so if you can see, I don't know if you can see my back, but maybe you can see that it's dark there because I was sweating. Maybe you can see kind of my hair, it's a little gleamy because prior to logging on today, I was walking my dog with a 40-pound weighted vest. And I have a thing that I do every time my dog stops to sniff. I do super, super slow squats, as many as I can do while she is sniffing. And I get short of breath and I get sweaty. And I notice a huge difference in the quality of my skin, especially the luminosity of my skin. I feel like my skin looks really dull when I don't sweat enough, and that it looks a lot brighter when I do. And maybe that is literally just the clearing out of the pores with the sweat. But whatever it is, I notice a huge difference. And sweating and exercise are just good for your mental outlook. And so that's going to decrease your cortisol, blah, 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 blah. So definitely, do things that you enjoy. So I'm going to segue into movement because obviously stress management and movement are so closely tied. Moving is so important and it doesn't have to be painful. And if all you can do is walk for 5 minutes today, then do that. That's enough for today. In my, I did a podcast maybe 2 or 3 podcasts ago about fitting exercise in so that it's a joyful habit. And I talk about starting small. If you have to start small, that is absolutely fine. That's how big changes happen is when you start small because when you start small, that you can maintain that change in your life. If you say to yourself, I'm going to exercise 1 hour 4 days a week and you're not exercising at all right now, well, that's kind of setting yourself up for failure to go that's from like 0 to 60. So, say to yourself, how about I'm going to do 15 minutes twice a week or 15 minutes 3 times a week. And here's the thing. If that's easy for you, if you do that 1 or 2 or 3 weeks in a row, then up the amount. Go to 20 minutes 4 days a week and just keep upping it. If you find that 15 minutes is not doable, then guess what? Go down. Go down to 10 minutes. You're going to do 10 minutes twice a week. If you can't do that, do 5 minutes once a week. Do whatever you can do just to get started. And because when you do these things that are good for you, you're going to start noticing that you feel better and that is going to encourage you, motivate you to do more. So, movement is so important and I think in terms of skincare, the sweatier the better. So, even if you can only walk for 5 minutes, if you load your so I got this 40-pound vest. I had been walking with a 20-pound vest very regularly, and I decided to go heavier because I did a backpacking camping trip last year, and I really enjoyed it, and my pack was a little too heavy, and I didn't think it was an unreasonable amount. So I really wanted to train so that I could be able to do this pack with no problem. And so the pack was actually closer to 50 pounds and I hiked with it for 3 hours. So I did it and it with an incline. So I did it, but it was a religious experience. Let me tell you, I was praying a lot on that hike. So I said to myself, I want to be able to do that without feeling like I might, expire at any moment. So I got a 40-pound weighted vest, and the first time I wore that vest, it was a little bit like that hike where I usually do a 30-minute walk, with my dog. The last quarter of that 30-minute walk, I just had to focus on moving my steps. I was like, "Wow, I'm really feeling this." Whereas today the 40 pounds has actually become too light. I've actually added a 10-pound hand weight that I carry in my hands when I do this, because the 40 pounds, it's been, I don't know, maybe 6 months of walking with 40 pounds multiple times a week. I don't wear it every day, but I would say I wear it 4 days a week. Now, my body is used to it, and now when I wear the 20-pound vest, it actually feels like a vacation. I can put on a 20-pound vest and not even notice, and I will hike with the 20 pounds of weight in the mountains, so, that's how far I've come there. So, look for things that you enjoy doing. I enjoy being outside, I enjoy doing things with other people, so that's why I like to hike. I hike with friends. I also enjoy playing tennis, which I do with friends. So look for things you enjoy and then try to get sweaty. And the great thing about the 40-pound vest is that I'm just walking, but I get such a great workout. I sweat like crazy. Such a different experience than walking without the vest. Okay, so that's sleep, that's stress, that's movement. Let's talk about diet. Diet. I drink this pretty much every day, and, mm, is it delicious? No, I wouldn't call it delicious. I honestly, God, I sometimes I feel like I don't even taste it. Like it just is. This is what I'm putting in my mouth. Is it horrible? No, it's not horrible either. Other people might think it's horrible, but at this point, I really just don't notice. It's just what I have. And mm, first thing that I do when I wake up every morning is I fill up 3 glasses, and actually here they all are. The first one has lemon water, which is the first thing I drink in the morning. This one has an herbal concoction, including hibiscus and ginger and all sorts of things that are just good for you. And I just kind of sip on that throughout the day. And then the third one, I put water and chia seeds in so that the chia seeds can gel a little bit. It's like the first step towards their sprouting process. So they become gelatinous. And then I go about my morning ritual, including walking my dog. And then when I get back from walking my dog, I take the chia seeds and I add all these other things. And so this has kale, cilantro, chia. It has protein powder and collagen powder, creatine, maca, hemp seeds, flax seeds, wheat germ, cacao nibs, and one other thing. Oh, alma. So, which is it's a fruit that's really high in vitamin C. So, and then by the way, the protein mix that I use, it is pea protein based. There was also chocolate in it, and also the pea protein mix has some other things in it, like pumpkin seed. I forget what's in that protein mix. So this is my custom mix, and yeah, I drink it pretty much every day. And one thing for me that really helps with making sure that I'm eating well is eating monotonously. I have a very monotonous breakfast and lunch. Breakfast is usually this. Occasionally, I'll have some oatmeal, which resembles this a lot because it'll have almost everything that's in here except for the water and the kale and the cilantro. But everything else that I mentioned goes into the oatmeal. So it's a very similar thing. It's just a more tactile. And then when I go on vacation, I'll have pancakes or I'll have actually, when we go on vacation is when I buy boxed cereal. My family eats boxed cereal like it's crack because we never have boxed cereal in the house. And we will do pancakes occasionally, but mostly it's this with the occasional. So this is maybe 5 days a week, and then I'll do oatmeal once a week, and then, whatever. Sometimes I do yogurt with berries. Eating monotonously just helps me save brain power. I don't have to think about it. I know I'm getting what I need to get, and it's easy to clean up and it's easy for shopping, etc. For lunch, I have a huge kale salad, and it's almost always the same. It's kale, hemp seeds, goji berries, walnuts. Sometimes I add some Brazil nuts, hemp seeds, cilantro again, and then either garbanzo beans or black beans or some bean like that, avocado. And then I dress it with salt, olive oil, and vinegar. That's it. Very monotonously. So it saves me a lot of time and a lot of thinking. And then the only meal that I really cook is dinner. Now, why all these things? Well, first of all, the greens are amazing for, again, cleaning out your system. Your body can do, by the way, I'm not a medical professional, nor do I play one on TV. This is just what I have found to work for me. And, if you go and you look, what purpose do greens play in your body? They really clean things out. It's kind of like loofahing your body from the inside out. So that's what that does. Cilantro is also really good for chelating. So I like, for instance, mercury and heavy metals, they chelate to cilantro, and then it helps your body flush it out. So again, these are all just detoxifying things. Fiber in general is just really good for pulling things out of your body. Apparently, I thought this was so fascinating. If you eat a spoonful of peanut butter by itself, and then you compare eating a spoonful of peanut butter with an apple, your body will absorb less fat if you ate the apple because the fiber binds to some of that fat and pulls it out of your body with you. Um, so that's why the chia seeds, because I was an anthropology major in undergrad, and so I'm always influenced by, how are we designed to eat? And the reality was food wasn't around in the kind of high calorie food wasn't around in the kind of plentiful abundance that we have now. So humans, in order to fill ourselves up, we would do a lot of chewing on green stuff, kind of like grazing animals do. Or if you're at the zoo, you might see a gorilla just chomping on leaves. Same thing. I'm just chomping on my leaves here. So anytime you get lots of fiber, it helps you feel fuller, but it also is helping to just pull all sorts of things out of your body that shouldn't be there in the first place. And one book I read said that there was a study where two groups were divided up. They ate everything exactly the same, except one group ate, I think it was 30 grams of fiber a day, and the other group didn't work to get to 30 grams a day. And they found that that one change had huge ramifications for the people's health. So I really prioritize fiber. I don't I don't count calories or measure foods or anything like that, but I do work to get 25 grams plus of fiber a day. And one of the greatest ways to do that is chia seeds. I put 2.5 tablespoons of chia into water every morning, and that means I get about 10 grams of fiber just from this drink. And that doesn't even include the kale and the cilantro that I put in there, and then all the seeds and whatever. I usually drink this really fast, but I wanted to have it on camera so you could see. This is what I drink every single day or eat every single day. So because of all the cleansing properties of the food I eat, I have to factor that in to why my skin looks the way it does, because I think my body is able to repair itself, maybe not optimally, but better than if I wasn't feeding it lots of stuff that helps it clean itself out. The other thing too, in terms of diet, is I drink water almost exclusively. I have the occasional Zevia soda. I like Zevia soda. But other than that, I almost never drink alcohol. I've literally had, I think, one drink this entire all of 2025. Yes, one drink all of 2025. Sake with my friend Jason, I remember. So, and I don't drink coffee on a daily basis. I enjoy coffee, but I enjoy it as a treat. So it's something I drink like once a week, maybe twice a week. I do have though my, I guess you could call this a tisane, but it's essentially water with some herbs in it. So I hardly consider that more than water. And, so not only am I drinking enough water to stay hydrated, but really it's the only thing I'm drinking. And again, your cells need to be hydrated. If you're not hydrated, you're not going to have any sort of plumpness in your skin. You need the hydration for that from the inside out. Okay, finally, skincare. The number one thing is I don't use products with any chemicals. Back when I owned a store, I used to own a store called Green and Greener 20 years ago, and I sold skincare. And back then, there was a list of the quote unquote dirty dozen. It was put out by the Environmental Working Group, EWG. I'm sure you can find it if you just type in EWG dirty dozen. And maybe the dirty dozen has much more. Maybe it's the dirty 2 dozen now. I don't know. But the dirty dozen was sort of a great hurdle because as long as you don't have the dirty dozen, you probably don't have anything that's super bad in it in terms of the ingredients. So my store only carried products without the dirty dozen. I only use products without the dirty dozen. And that was the case even before I owned my store. So for about half my life now, I'm 51. Like I said, I had my store about 20 years ago, and before then, already I was already removing toxins from my life. So for at least half of my life, maybe longer, maybe it's been 30 years because I think it kind of started in college. I have been using non-toxic products on my face. And I think that's really important because the products that I use, I feel like they work with my skin to take care of my skin versus battling with my skin. I Some of my closest girlfriends were in a chat group together. There's 5 of us. Our chat group is called the Clitorati. Yes, I know, it's great. And we talk about everything in the Clitorati, and, the recently someone posted in, like, retinol, yes or no? And I had been in the no camp because my understanding had been that the way that retinol works actually makes the skin weaker. Now, I don't know if that's true. One of my friends said that's not actually true, but what retinol does do 100% is makes you more sensitive to the sun, which I live in Southern California. And yes, I use sunscreen, but I can't block sunscreen's just a cream. You can't block 100% of the sun. So I have never used retinol because I did not want to use anything that would make my skin more sun sensitive. So, um, you know, look around. There's lots of bio-based, plant-based retinol alternatives, as in they do similar things in terms of exfoliating the skin, but much, much less harsh. But you have to do what's right for you. I just knew I did not want to be more sun sensitive. By the way, on the topic of sunscreen, I only started wearing sunscreen when I hit 40 because I thought, as someone with median skin tone, again, I have this light on me, so maybe I look, I would say I'm a solid like middle of the road skin tone. I didn't think I needed sunscreen every day, especially because I wasn't spending a ton of time outside every day. And when I walk my dog, I always wear a big hat. However, then I saw a thing that said, nope, my skin tone does require sunscreen for these reasons. And so in my 40s, I started using sunscreen. By the way, one of the things that also convinced me to use sunscreen daily is the fact that devices, so right now I am in front of a screen. These devices, the blue light they give off can also be damaging for our skin. So I do wear sunscreen every day, regardless of whether or not I'm going inside or outside. And yeah, I can put the specifics about some of the skincare I use into the show notes, but that is it. Holistic skincare, sleep, stress management, movement, diet, and oh, yeah, skincare all in there. I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to rate, like, subscribe wherever you are watching. And thank you for joining me. If you want to find out more about what I do, how I can help you with productivity and time management to live a life that is beyond your wildest dreams, then visit my website, bywdreams.com. And for some reason, I can't put it up on the screen. I don't know. It wants to keep scrolling up. Oh, there we go. bywdreams.com. And remember, planning